Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Biblio Fitness. Hope everyone's had a great day, made some beautiful gains. Today, I wanted to kind of go over a very interesting little, I guess you could say, what is it, section. I lost my word there for a second. Section 327, which is titled A Fable and the Dawn of Day, of course. Slowly but surely. But I just saw I saw an Instagram reel by Ryan Holiday, and he made a really good point that just kind of validates myself. Is that we don't read to say we read this many books in a year. Like, why would you want to rush something? The whole point is to soak up as much as you possibly can. Slow and steady truly does win the race. And I used to have that perspective, and I guess it's because of AR. When you're like in middle school, you had to read these books and get certain points throughout the semester or whatever, and you were only given like 2 or 3 weeks before you had to hand it back to the library. And I feel like that was kind of intrinsically placed within my conscious of how I looked at literature for a very long time. Is like, how, why can't I read this by the end of the month? Why can't I read this by the end of 3 months? It's like, but why? You know, this is my book. I purchased this. Take as long as I fucking need to. But yeah, it's because sometimes I get frustrated, but I'm like, dude, I'm soaking so much information in. Why would I want to rush something like this? But let's go and continue before I go off on an unnecessary tangent to start it today. I'm going to go ahead and read it. Very interesting. Quote, the Don Juan of knowledge. No philosopher or poet has yet succeeded in discovering him. He is wanting in love for the things he recognizes, but he possesses wit, a lust for the hunting after knowledge, and the intrigues in connection with it. And he finds enjoyment in all these, even up to the highest and most distant stars of knowledge, until at last there is nothing left for him to pursue but the absolutely injurious side of knowledge, just as the drunkard who ends by drinking absinthe and aquafortis. That is why, last of all, he feels a longing for hell, for this is the final knowledge which seduces him. Perhaps even this would disappoint him, as all things do which one knows. And then he would have to stand still for all eternity, a victim to eternal deception, and transformed into his enemy, the stony guest, who longs for an evening meal of knowledge which will never more fall to his share. For the whole world of things will not have another mouthful left to offer to these hungry men. End quote. Now, I had to look into this because I had no idea who the flippity dippity fuck was Don Juan. And that is the famous poem, because I'm an uncultured swine and I did not know. The famous poem of the guy that's like from Italy, and he seduces women left and right for the pure sport. Now, doesn't matter whether this woman is low-born, noble, fat, whatever. It doesn't matter. The whole point was just to be able to exhibit the skill that he possessed in conquering these women. And one of the most difficult things to conquer is a woman, right? They're all different and unique and with daddy issues and things of that nature. But it's pretty cool how he brought this along with this little fable. Because I guess in this pursuit of knowledge, how rare is it for a man that never becomes satiated in this pursuit? A lot of us, we get into philosophy, we get into logic and reasoning and religion or whatever the case may be, with the lie that we tell ourselves and that we are in the pursuit of truth, but, a lot of us come at it, incorrectly, believing that the truth is like right around the corner. You know what I'm saying? That you just have to read one thing or, or think about something for a few months and you are in possession of this ever elusive truth. But not taking into account that this is this is a journey that will last all your life, really. It's eluded everybody. That's why, you can make the case that there is no truth. Or truth that we can understand or we can all get behind. But, I like that, how he talks about this guy that, once he understands this, he no longer loves it. And I feel like that in itself is another great thing to talk about is, the ideal is beautiful when it's far away. Knowledge is beautiful when it's far away. People are beautiful when they're far away. When you don't really know them, when there is that mystery, and in that distance, you are allowed, or you allow yourself to be able to fill that void with your own desires, your own fantasies, your own dreams, right? But once you get up closer to the nitty gritty and look at it in his face, you see it for the disgusting thing that it is. How superficial and how dumb, it is that in our pursuit of divining this thing, we're going against the entire nature of it. We're trying to make dirt into gold. And that's, I guess that is a part of it, of Don Juan, right? Conquering these women. But now that I've conquered you, now that I know who you are, now that I've achieved this goal, I no longer require you. It doesn't become a part of his life. It does become part of our life. Men that constantly pursue more power, more knowledge, that they're never satiated. They conquer the nation and they're already thinking, where do I go from here? Not, they don't think about conquering as a form of consolidation, or maybe a temporary consolidation in order to continue to pursue their world conquest, or whatever the case they may have, or whatever pursuits they may have, right? Never satiated, constantly chasing these new ideas, these new forms of thought, these groundbreaking revolutionary ideas, going beyond the pale of good and evil, going beyond the pale of morality, and never being satisfied with knowledge. When it comes to the point where it becomes it takes on this masochist form. He makes the comparison with the drunk who ends by drinking absinthe and aquafortis, the strongest, the most, the most effective fucking doses and drinks possible. That's what we need at this point to get us jolted, to get any sensation whatsoever. We have to go down into the very depths of what is possible. And for knowledge, I guess you could say it is hell. And this one took a little bit of a while for me. It's like, why would you long for hell, for this is the final knowledge? And what may that even include? What is this longing for hell? Maybe maybe an understanding of suffering, maybe an understanding of the downfall of humans, maybe maybe in this walking through hell, you could find a soul similar to yours who went on this pursuit and in the end ended up in hell because he was never satisfied. It's very interesting, this whole longing for hell thing. Maybe longing to suffer for this nonchalant, this aloofness. Longing for hell to understand what makes people fall. That is knowledge, right? What makes people perform deeds they know that they should not be doing? What are the deeds? What is the catastrophe that befell upon this human being, a lot of times self-inflicted, that caused the downfall of this person? What can you learn from that? And I guess there is a lot to learn from that. You'll learn much looking at the sun and the stars and how beautiful it is. You're not really going to draw a lot of information about yourself in that perspective. I mean, looking at it from that perspective, you're going to find out more about yourself looking at the downfall of humans, the tragedy of humanity. Because, while none of us are particularly, 100% the same, we're very similar. And what makes one person tick, you could definitely extrapolate from that and see how it maybe affects you in a different way. Similar, but different, And in the end, to transform into the stony guest, this person, like the complete opposite of this constant pursuing. A lot of us, you do this not anymore, really. This constant pursuing to the point where nothing is satisfying. Like instead of Midas turning everything to gold, everything turns to dust. We become this stony guest that no longer wants to move, and that no longer wants to find the next meal, that wants to be satiated, that wants to remain in place because there's nothing left. devoured the world. We've ravaged through all depths of knowledge. And I feel like that in itself really does show that there has to be a sort of balance. A thing that Nietzsche constantly talks about is that we do need anti-truths in order to make everything work, right? And that's something difficult to overcome in relations to that. When you do find knowledge and when you do find this new realization, things at the same time become a lot more simple. Things become a little bit less beautiful, and that's something that happens with me, is that when I look at people, everything becomes far more simpler, but it doesn't make it any more enticing. If anything, it revolts me. It doesn't want me. I don't want to be involved anymore. Because now you see it for what it is, right? That the chasm has now been dwindled, and you are now seeing everything up close and how dumb and superficial it all is, and it just makes you want to go on to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, and maybe in the end you feel regret because you never latched on to anything to make part of your own life, to make part of your own personality. Not to fall into the trap of being a specialist, right? That, like, I was saying before, is that a lot of us get into these things to sort of substantiate whatever preconceptions we already had before we went on this pursuit, right? But, to not just latch on one specific thing, but to be able to look at the entire cosmos and look at every single nook and cranny and find joy in that. There's always something new to learn, but not to the point where there's nothing left for you to pursue. It's really cool, because it just goes hand in hand with the whole journey that Nietzsche wants us to go upon, especially in the beyond good and evil, right? Going above the ideology of it all. And in this way, you do have to be kind of a Don Juan, right? Not falling in love with everything that comes your way, but being able to extrapolate what you can from it and grow from it and cast it aside and keep moving. Not to get pulled in and distracted, but to continue on this longing, continue on this pursuit, this very lonely pursuit, right? Because you'll never be satisfied. When are we ever truly satisfied? That's one of the qualities in us that never goes away, is that we are never truly satisfied with whatever we have. That's why a lot of philosophies will have us try to remind ourselves, hey, be satisfied, be grateful, because now it's just going to be a lot harder for you. That's why there is such a need as balance. Not when you finally get the fruit, it turns to ash in your mouth because you're already thinking about the next meal. It's just a very interesting section to draw upon. I like how he, I had to look this up because, like I said, I had no idea who Don Juan is. But, it's pretty cool. And it's another thing that he likes to talk about is, like, in the beginning of Beyond Good and Evil, is like, if the truth was a woman, what then? He always likes to put truth and women together, it's just something that, just a part of his the way he presents these ideas, right? Very nice. So that'll be all for today. It's just a very interesting section. It's section 327, if you're curious. But onwards to more reading. Hope you all have a great day. Hope you all make some beautiful games yesterday, repping the boy Batman. And until next time, love y'all. Peace.